Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling Toukon Road Brave Spirits for the N64. Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All that, plus gaming news, GMP64, and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles, because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am the man of 1,001 nicknames, your current hardcore champion and the reigning and defending Clash at the Feast champion. This week being known as Ghost Feis Killer. And this week we are playing Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling Toukon Road Brave Spirits.
See, I was actually there this week for when your nickname was created, and it's because you kind of ghosted a stream. It's okay. You made up for it. You came back, but I like this. I like this week's one. But as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at Game Marks Pod and on Discord at GameMarksPod.com/Discord. Ghost Feis Killer. How you doing this week?
Dude, 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back long wrestling names. I don't know, man. That's a lot. This is 2 weeks in a row, mouthful.
Yeah, but let's talk about last week's game. Bishoju Wrestler Retsuden. I'm going to cut it there. I'm not going to say the whole name. How are you feeling about that game from last week? Because we couldn't do a Clash at the Feast. It was just impossible. We're going to get to that more later, but to go back and watch gameplay of this, or to even think about this game, I kind of just pushed it to the back of my brain, and I gave up. I didn't want anything to do with this game anymore.
See, I still feel the same way. I wanted this to the game to be, like an actual playable game. I didn't want it to be a manager or I guess side. What did I say? Like a fight coach.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually the animations looked good. I would have loved to have been able to take control of the wrestlers.
Yeah, I completely agree, because even when we played the previous game from the Wrestle Angels series, you still had control, even though it was a card game. You were still able to, pick and choose what you do. We thought that the computer was playing for us, and we kind of just threw our hands up well, I guess we did something wrong, but that's how the game actually plays. And if you haven't listened to our episode, go back and take a listen, see for yourself if you want to check out the game. But, George, we are now almost halfway into March, weirdly enough, and our streamer spotlight is Brett Va. That's twitch.tv/Brett, BRETTVAA. Check him out. He's a great streamer, great just overall member of our Game Marks community, so go check him out whenever he goes live.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of Twitch, once we hit 200 followers on our Twitch channel, we will be releasing the Bret Hart video game retrospect. And let me tell you, as of right now, we are at 187 people.
We are so close!
We're so close. Guys, please, if you are hearing my voice and Johnny's voice, and you are not following, it costs $0 to follow. Just go to twitch.tv/GameMarksPod. Hit the follow button. Make us do this. We want to do this. But at the same time, we want to make sure that you guys actually want to see us do this and listen to us do this. So that is a very easy way for you to let us know that you're in for this episode.
Yeah, and I started putting together kind of some of the research, some of the notes for the Bret Hart episode. This is going to blow everybody away because Bret has done so much in video games. Now, when we did the Undertaker episode, the Undertaker had just retired. He's literally been in everything. There are some Bret Hart games that will surprise you. There's some that you will know about, but we are going to deep dive into every single thing. Plus, I talked to the man. I talked to Smart Mark Sterling last week, and he said, we will put this video version on the Major Pod Network YouTube channel. So we're going to pretty it up. Me and George are going to be sitting here with our dark shaded pink sunglasses, and we are going to bring to you the greatest Bret Hart retrospect video game episode to ever exist, if it's not the only one out there. So follow us on Twitch.
Oh, I'm so ready.
Now, George, 2 episodes ago, we had Ian Riccaboni on when we plugged Retro Mania Wrestling. Now, we were going to give away a Ian Riccaboni micro brawler. All you have to do is subscribe to us on YouTube, send us proof on Twitter using the hashtag RetroGMP. I am going to extend this one last week. So next week's episode, I'm going to announce the winner for this. So if you want the free micro brawler, just like I said, subscribe to us on YouTube, take that screenshot, and just send us the proof on Twitter using RetroGMP as the hashtag.
Now, listen. Once this giveaway ends, I've got some ideas for what we're gonna do for the next one. I think we're gonna step it up a little bit, but we gotta get through this one first. So Johnny Clash being very, very generous here, extending the giveaway one more week. But get ready, because right after that, we're starting another one. But let's talk about GMP64.
Ooh,
Episode 5 aired on Thursday. There was no delay. It was up on time. It was perfect. My computer had to render a video for like 6 hours or something like that. Like it was some ridiculous amount of time, but it got up. There wasn't any kind of delay. I very happy to report that that beautiful man, George Feis, regained that hardcore champion. Ooh.
You know what? You could bask in your glory for another week or so, but I have someone in mind that's going to take that title from you and keep that title forever. And we're going to send George Feis packing. And you know, Johnny Clash was kind of screwed out of his title match. I wasn't a big fan of what happened here.
Johnny Clash was screwed out of a title match.
Yeah, he was guaranteed a title match and he was screwed. But, guys, check out GMP64. If you're not sure what it is, George has a roster. I have a roster in WWF No Mercy for the N64. Each week we go head-to-head in a TV-style show on our YouTube channel. Check it out. This week's happened to go a little longer than expected, but next week's we can go back to our regularly scheduled format. So don't worry, they're not all going to be that long, but that's going to be this Thursday, episode 6, and it is going to be action-packed.
Now, the easiest way to describe GMP64 for those who don't know, really, really quick. If you love FWF and you need something to fill that void while FWF is on their off season, while everyone recoups, that GMP64 fills that void. Putting together a TV show, we got pay-per-views every month. It's everything that you would expect from FWF, but this takes place in a No Mercy universe. John and I are the ones playing the matches and their video version, so you can actually watch along and watch me and John do commentary.
That's right. It's one of the best things we have done on this podcast, and I look forward to it every week, not only because I just get to play No Mercy for an extensive amount of time. Now, George, we got some friends of the podcast that started a new podcast. I just want to give them a quick shout out. The Caught Looking Boys, you've heard their ad here before. They have a brand new podcast with Papa Bear Paul called The Card Foundation, where they break down everything that has to do with wrestling cards. Wrestling cards are hot right now. I even picked up some WWE packs. It's a slippery slope, but check that podcast out if you are into card collecting. It's a no-brainer. Also, our friend David C. Anderson, the Commish. He is starting his own podcast very soon, so be on the lookout for that.
DCA.
Now, before we get into the gaming news, while we're talking about other podcasts, how's your back feeling? How's your neck? We've been going through some rigorous training. Because on April 8th, the Major Pod Network presents FWF Live, and us, me and George Feis, that's right, George is wrestling, will take on Off the Hop Ropes Troy Nelson and Nick Stapp in a tag team match to see kind of, which podcast has the better wrestlers. And I mean, right now, I feel like it's between me and Nick Stapp. No offense to you. You're not a trained professional wrestler.
None taken.
Troy hasn't wrestled in probably 5 years. I don't know what his deal is. Last time I saw him, I had to introduce myself to him, and he knows me, and he was wearing a ref shirt. I don't know what the deal is. But
Top Shelf Troy Nelson is always 3 sheets to the wind. So,
yeah.
So,
So we could kind of just push him to the side. We're going to see which brand, which podcast has the better wrestlers. Guys, check that out, FWF Live. More details will be announced in the coming weeks of where you can order that, but that is going to kick off WrestleMania weekend. But George, let's kick off the gaming news. What do you say?
Let's do it. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Valve has announced that development on the Artifact 2.0 beta has ceased, as the game has failed to attract the customer base the company had hoped for. While the news will be disappointing to fans of the game, Valve has announced that Artifact Classic and Artifact Foundry will now be available free to everyone. Since all new updates will cease, Artifact Foundry will technically remain an unfinished product. However, Valve claims that the game is merely missing some of the art as well as a little polish. Otherwise, the gameplay experience is intact. EA has announced the addition of 2 new fighters to UFC 4, Kevin Holland and Vicente Luque. Fans should be quite happy to see these latest 2 fighters, particularly since demand has been very high for both. Holland was a frequent request by fans of the sport, and many were upset the fighter didn't make the cut sooner. After a very long wait, however, Holland is finally available in the game and his stats seem pretty impressive. Now, MLB The Show 21 is bringing a ton of changes this year. Not only is the game coming to the Xbox platform for the first time ever, but cross-play and cross-progression across all iterations will be featured as well. That being said, the new features don't end there, with the update having something big unveiled. Details in a new video, MLB The Show 21 will finally add a stadium creator to this year's entry in the long-running series. That's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. Georgie, I'm getting some Tony Hawk vibes here from MLB The Show. Now, I've taken a few years off of this. I grabbed the Ken Griffey Deluxe Edition when it came out on the PS4, but now that I have an Xbox One hooked up to my TV, this isn't a monitor game. I'm going to grab the show because there's a Jackie Robinson Special Edition cover that I want to grab. But some Tony Hawk vibes with the Stadium creator, that's going to be sick.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to... it's a cool feature, but I wonder if putting that in there is removing other features that other people are going to be upset about.
That's kind of what I always liked about the MLB games, though. They're kind of just simple. I mean, it's baseball. You're getting the home run derby.
Yeah.
You're getting... I think Road to the Show mode is one of their... I guess their staple story mode, you could say. You could select a position and you just play as that one player. It's kind of hard. You kind of just stay in AAA for a long time. Getting called to the majors is pretty hard, but Tony Hawk 2 vibes here. Stadium creator. I mean, Madden 2002 had it. Why can't a game now have it?
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's been a little bit since I've picked up an MLB game, but maybe it's time to pick
dust
up the
it
bat
off
and start swinging for the fences again.
I was gonna say dust off the bat, but I don't want to say that, even though I just did. Now, do you want to feel?
Sometimes you say things, and I go,
dust off the old bat and balls. Now, do you want to feel old? Even though you probably already do from your training this week.
I would say from you kicking my ass the last couple of weeks, I already feel old.
All right, PS2 turned 21 last week. PS2 is legally able to drink.
Shit.
Right. That my thoughts exactly.
When did? So wait, this is we're in March 2020 still, right? Like no time has passed, right?
This is March 2021.
Oh, where did a whole year go?
I mean, I don't know.
A whole year has gone by, man. Like, that's nuts to think that, like, in the U.S., major pandemic shutdown started in March, and now here we are a year later, and now you're telling me that the PS2 turns 21?
It's crazy, man. I mean, I had the Slim. I was a little late to the game because I was an Xbox guy back then, but my PS2 was treasured.
Man, trying to think, like, what's the first game you remember playing on the PS2?
I think I told this story a couple weeks ago. I bought SOCOM 2, but SOCOM 1 was in the package. But I
was gonna say, I think I got SOCOM as well because I had like the little internet adapter thing for the back of the original PS2, and like it came with the headset, and I was like so excited to like have a headset with my PlayStation 2.
Yeah, other than that, I think I borrowed my cousin's SmackDown vs. Raw, maybe. I think that might have been one of the first ones too. But yeah, I was an Xbox guy, so I didn't want the PlayStation right away because you gotta wait for it to go on sale a little. Get the slim version.
Yeah.
It's got the one wire, not the two wires. It's got the Ethernet port in the back.
I did SOCOM, and then I like all the Tekken games that were on the PS2, and then obviously goes without saying, I dove headfirst into all the wrestling games, and
yeah, you had to. But with that, George, what do you say we head on over to our favorite segment, the question of the week?
Let's do it.
Hey, yo, Game Marks. You know who I am? And I'm here to tell you about our pro wrestling tees and TeePublic stores. Now let me tell you something, Game Marks. Not only do we have the most radical shirts over at Pro Wrestling Tees, we also have a TeePublic store with even more designs, dude. So head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod and TeePublic.com/user/GameMarksPod, because when you're GMP, you're GMP for life.
GameMarksPod.com/shop is where you can go to pick up all of our merch. We have a link to our Pro Wrestling Tee store, a link to our TeePublic store. You can purchase the 1-year anniversary print, the brand new GMP vinyl card decal, and we are constantly adding new and exciting merch to keep everyone engaged. And let me tell you something. Some of these shirts that we've got in the pipeline, pretty cool. Very excited. And let's hop into the question of the week there, John.
Let's do it.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where we like to ask you to give us a question. And then if we pick your question, you are sent a Game Marks Podcast prize pack. Last week, the question came from Mufasa1225, and that question was: when someone leaves a company, but they are still in a video game, does that make you want to play the person more or less? The example that I gave that came to mind was Bret Hart being in WCW Revenge, because, when I think of the Hitman, I think of him being in like all of the WWF games. I never ever think of him in Revenge, and
Yeah, follow us on Twitch, and maybe we'll deep dive into that.
Hey, that's coming up. But yeah, let's run through some of these answers from everyone across the internet.
So 96 Quite Bitter Being, interesting name,
lovely
says,
CKY reference.
For me, it depends on if I like the person or not. For instance, when WWE 2K20 launched, DDP was removed from the roster. I went back to 2K19 because 2K20 was a shit show. Found myself using DDP a bit more in my universe mode. I could get that. Okay. I certainly get that. Now, Ben Atwood 09 says short-term less, long-term more. I could see that as well because kind of, like we say, the nostalgia goggles are on. Maybe now I'm going to go pick Chris Jericho and Mayhem because the Chris Jericho today is, the Chris Jericho today. And,
yeah. You want some old school Jericho, you got to go back and play, I
certainly agree with that.
Everyone's got their different versions of the characters from whatever like style they were in at the time. So, if light up jacket Chris Jericho is your thing, go play one of the SmackDown vs. Raw games.
Exactly. Now, this week's question comes from Facebook, and it is from Ron Scott, who is one of our top fans. He says, George, are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you had to create a roster using only characters from video games, kind of like Mario, Sonic, etc., who would you choose and why? Now,
so this is like fantasy booking a Super Smash Brothers kind of thing?
That's kind of the vibe I got, but wrestling. You want to give like 3 each, maybe?
Yeah, do 4 each.
4? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm right off the bat, I want Darth Maul.
Oh.
In a game. I think Darth Maul will go Raiden from Metal Gear Solid. Ooh, this is tough.
Right? That's why I said you wanted 4, I said 3.
We'll go Spider-Man.
Good. Already in the wrestling universe.
And
now, which Spider-Man? Miles Morales? Or are you going Peter Parker? Are you going?
I'm gonna say Peter Parker.
Okay.
We'll go Reinhardt from Overwatch.
All right, that's your 4. I'm gonna go first round draft pick, the Coltrane from Gears of War.
Oh, okay.
Then I'm gonna go this crazy son of a bitch. I'm going Trevor from GTA 5.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine him in a wrestling ring? I mean, basically just Luke Harper with like an alcohol problem.
Yeah, he's already got the dirty not dirty T-shirt.
Exactly.
Except Trevor's is way dirty, like real dirty.
Now, I guess this counts. I'm gonna go D-Mob from Def Jam.
That's a wrestling game. It's like, okay, I'm going to book it for I want Mario, right. Luigi,
I'm going Wario.
Yoshi, Princess Peach.
I'm going Wario because he could be a top heel. He could be like a little Iron Sheik,
See, I'm more of a Waluigi guy.
You would be. Fourth one.
GMP, man.
Okay, here we go. Spawn from Soul Calibur.
Oh, okay. You're going. Spawn was in Mortal Kombat 11 too, right? You're gonna go Soul Calibur Spawn.
Yeah, that's my Spawn. We covered the news when he entered Mortal Kombat, but I don't have that game.
Mortal Kombat 11 is like one of the best Mortal Kombat. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, one day. But like I said before, awesome. I was an Xbox guy, not a PS guy. So my Soul Calibur for Xbox was Spawn.
I'm gonna go the main character from.
I'm going to go Roman Reigns from 2K20.
I'm going to go Bianca Belair's ponytail from 2K20.
All right. Thank you, Ron Scott. Message us on social media to claim your prize. And as usual, we now throw this to you, the fans. If you had to create a roster using only characters from video games, who would you choose and why? Give us 3, give us 4, give us as many as you would like. George, are you ready? I said, are you ready to take the plunge? Are we ready to deep dive?
I'm on the edge of the diving board.
Let's go.
My knees are shaking. I'm jumping. Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee. Oh, John. There is nothing better than to wake up in the morning, you're all sleepy-eyed, stumble your way into the kitchen. You're just like, I'm just going to put the teapot on so I can start boiling some water. And you're just like, okay, I got it. And it's like the first thing I do every morning is make coffee.
Yep.
And there is just nothing better than the first opening of that Bones coffee bag, and you are just smacked in the face with the most amazing smell.
So I've actually taken your advice lately, and I haven't been opening all of them to smell them. I've been opening them one by one individually. Also taking your advice, I'm up to From Dusk Till Donuts, and let me tell you. Let me tell you.
It's nuts. So I actually have recently come across a new thing that people are doing where they're buying the 5-ounce bags, the smaller bags, and they're combining flavors to make a new coffee blend. So
I like
someone took the Oreo. I think they took the Oreo cookies, the Cookies and Dream, and they combined it with the strawberry cheesecake. And they did like almost like if you've ever had like a chocolate covered cheesecake, or like, you know, where you get like the strawberry cheesecake and it's got like that chocolate drizzle on top.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I'm Italian.
That's what they said it tastes like. And I'm kind of interested in combining some things here, like combining the Cinnabon and the French toast.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. You're making me kind of hungry and thirsty at the same time. But
that's what this coffee does, man.
GameMarksPod.com/coffee. Check it out, or check out our pinned tweet to check out Bones Coffee. George, let's dive into this game.
All right. So, Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling, Toukon Road Brave Spirits, released January 4th, 1998 for the N64, developed by Ukes, published by Hudson Entertainment. But this game, Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling Toukon Road, which from now on for the rest of the episode we'll just be calling this Brave Spirits, because that's the unique title to this game. So this is the first Toukon Road series, first entry in the Toukon Road series of games. Now this series comes after the Toukon Retsuden series, which we have covered a few of the titles in the archive.
Check them out, October 2020.
Now, this game looks and feels like WCW World Tour.
Right.
But this is there's
a big but here.
And I cannot lie. Now, the analog stick is how you move.
I can't deny.
Which I John?
Sorry, I'm still going.
No, it's fine. I said your name because I am going to admit how embarrassed I was the first time that we played this game. It took me far too long to figure out how to move. I thought my controller was broken. I thought something was wrong with the game. I thought my console wasn't functioning. I was just like, I can't move. Like, my D-pad's not working. I can throw a punch. I can taunt. I can run, but I can't just walk. And then all of a sudden, you started moving. And I was like, how are you doing that, John? And you said, oh, I'm using the analog stick.
Yeah, and I think I stuttered a bit too when we started.
Mind explode, like mind blown GIF. Like that is what happened to my brain. I was just, what do you mean it's the analog stick? Yeah. This is so strange.
So that's where I'm going to put over the N64 controller for a minute, because I feel like to play this game the same way would not be possible on like a PlayStation controller with the two analog sticks. Because
no, absolutely not.
The N64 controller has the joystick with that long piece that comes down the middle. No pun, no giggity there. You have to actually hold with your left hand the analog part, and kind of the D-pad and the L button are non-existent. So you're holding that. I don't know how to explain it. It's strangely comfortable, I guess, because like it fits in your hand with the analog stick that you could just move your thumb and then you use the Z button on the back rather than the trigger. I feel like if you're using the D-pad to move and using the L button instead, it wouldn't be as smooth. However, this game clearly sets the groundwork for the games we know and love.
Yeah. This is the thing. Like, it looks and, the movements are a little clunky here and there, but like foundation wise, everything that you love from World Tour is present. You know, the button combinations are different, but like animations look good. The overall feel of the game, you know, it doesn't feel like you're playing this incredibly unfamiliar game. Once you know, and I'm speaking on behalf of John as well, but like, I feel like once we kind of got a knack for the controls and like how to move and how to execute like simple maneuvers, it was kind of intuitive. You were able to figure out everything.
Yeah, so rather than, I would say, how they later added the strong grapple, the strong strikes, instead you were either double tapping A or double tapping B, plus to have like your stronger grapples or strikes, you would hold the Z and then do A or B. Yeah,
which that threw me for a loop in the beginning as well, because...
Boy, did that throw me for a loop, and I'll explain later.
Can't say that I've ever had to use Z as a modifier for a move before, so it's interesting.
So here's what happened when I played. For some reason, my Z button was stuck. So if I wasn't holding the Z button was on. If I held it, it was off. So that was inverted for me. So it took me a couple games to actually realize like how this game worked, because George is like, oh, I'm just pressing Z and A to do a submission. I'm like, so am I. I'm dropping an elbow. What is happening here? Yeah, so it's a little confusing, especially if your controller is broken. But I think, like you said, once we got the hang of it, this game actually was a lot of fun, and there's actually like replay value here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, that's like the number one thing that we always say when it comes to games is that you want replayability, and you know this game has some very unique elements to it, but
but familiar. Once we get into
I think
this,
with that, we'll go over into the game types here. So you have your exhibition modes, you have your singles match, your tag match, a battle royal, and sparring mode, which is pretty much like your training mode where you just like learn the buttons. Then you have Title Road, where you can go for the IWGP Heavyweight title. You have IWGP Tag titles. And pretty much in both of these modes, you go just through a series of wrestlers and beat the current champion for the title. You know, it's not, you know...
It's cut and dry. It's similar to what, like, you see now with like Retromania Wrestling. It's a staple in most of these older wrestling games.
Yeah, because it's the same thing like you would do in Challenge Road in World Tour. You just like go through wrestlers from the roster, and at the end you win.
There's no story, but this gives you like something to compete for.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah,
you know, it adds to the replayability. It's a fun aspect. It's not groundbreaking by any means, but it's, you know, a staple in these series of games.
Yep. Now, one thing that I like is the sparring mode, because there's actually some different variants here, which we'll get to later. There's different match types that are in the game that you don't know are in the game unless you kind of figure it out. But sparring mode did help us get kind of acclimated to the actual gameplay. But I think, personally, title match is the way to go.
Absolutely.
Title Road is the way to go. But we've seen this in many other Japanese games. We've seen this in PlayStation games. Now, the title match, I could take my champion. I could put it in my controller pack. I could save that data. I can now put that controller pack into my controller, bring it over to George's house. He could put his controller pack in. He could have his champion take on my champion.
Now, I wish more games had this feature, because
it's online before online. It's land before land.
Like, that's so awesome. I wish more games made use of the controller pack functionality in this way. Could you imagine you can load up all of your champion data from No Mercy and then go over to your friend's house and just like plug in your controller pack and have like champion versus champion, and like it's every champion. It's like your world champ versus their world champ. It's your IC versus their IC. Like, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, cool.
John came to play.
Really cool feature. I mean, I don't know how many times I would have done that personally, but I like it. I like the idea of it, which makes me go back and think that I think I used to do this with one of my friends in an old WCW game.
Oh, well, now, so as we've seen in other games, the difficulty has some interesting labels. This was the birthplace of cement. That's how that was made. It was just talking about the difficulty scales. But you have Renhao, which is easy. Yasashi is normal. Hufu is hard. And Mutu Tsukashi is super hard. Which is what Johnny gets after playing.
All right, relax. Now, what do you say we get into this roster? Because these are the heavy hitters here. This is a really good New Japan roster. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our sponsors. All right, so here is the roster. We have Shinya Hashimoto, Kensuke Sasaki, Kaiji Muto, Masahiro Chono, Tatsumi Fujinami, Manabu Nakanishi, Shiro Kashinaka, Hiroshi Tenzen, Noya Ogawa, Satoshi Kojima, Jushin Thunder Liger, Tiger Mask, Riki Choshu, and your secret roster, you have Power Warrior, Great Muta, and Super Strong Machine.
I mean, this is a who's who Japanese wrestling at the time. Like, there's no name in this game that we either haven't played in another game, or it's not a name that you've never heard of. Like there is, if you are at all familiar with Japanese wrestling, you know names here.
Now, here's the little Easter eggs we figured out here. I know specifically Masahiro Chono is wearing an NWO shirt. And
so is Hiroshi Tenzen.
Tenzen's wearing, I believe, the lanyard. Neither of them are actually showing the full NWO logo, I'm assuming for licensing reasons.
Probably.
And it's not in the actual gameplay per se, but really cool when you select your wrestler. They're caricature versions of the wrestlers. Really just awesome, bright, vibrant artwork. I'm going to say it again, similar to, if you're familiar now with Retromania Wrestling, kind of like the over-exaggerated wrestlers. These look really awesome. George, actually on the menu screen, we'll get into this before we get into the actual art style. You see kind of silhouettes of like a exhibition match. You see the two players. You see tag team match. You see the battle royal. Now the settings. We both pointed out how awesome the settings artwork is, because it shows kind of like a child version of Jushin Thunder Liger sitting there playing an N64.
Yeah, I don't know why I enjoyed this so much. There was just something so just I can't even put my finger on it. It was just very satisfying.
It just makes you smile
this little drawing of Liger sitting down with an N64 controller and like the glow of the TV on him. It was just super fun.
Yeah, I really like that as well. But the character models and the art style here, very familiar looking, typical Ukes as you could imagine. But I was kind of mind blown like how good it looked. Like the costumes, the characters themselves, they look really good here for a game in 1998. Like, this was awesome. Except for the crowd. The crowd was very, I know what you're going to say after this. The crowd was extremely papery and blurry and poorly animated, but I don't think it took away from like the in-ring action at all.
So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I've mentioned many times that I feel like the crowd helps in setting the stage, and that's that's how I felt with this game. But I will say, while I do agree with you, it's a very paper-looking crowd. The camera angles, at times, you kind of don't really see the crowd a whole lot. It's really like during entrances, and during certain camera cuts during the matches. But for the most part, you rarely really see them, which I guess is why it didn't stand out that it bothered me so much.
It's usually the first thing I look at, so I can talk about it here. So that's why I noticed it. Plus, the entrances are a little awkward because there's no stage. You kind of just emerge from the railings and kind of walk to the ring very slowly. That was a bit awkward. They could have, I don't know, made a little opening for them to walk through. Everyone has a Jon Moxley entrance, as you said.
Yeah, everyone just comes from the crowd.
But the introductions are typical. They're your World Tour introductions where everyone's in the ring. You get in this corner, and then the action just starts. I mean, there's honestly, I didn't know what to think going into this game. Once I started researching, looking like, oh, okay, this game actually looks really good. Like, if you see Liger, if you see Tiger Mask, you see Chono, you're like, okay, yeah, okay, I know who these people are. It's pretty. It's very pretty from the second you open the game to that title screen. Like we mentioned, the artwork, the wrestlers have those caricatures. You have the really cool little screens and all that. I think from start to finish, this game is visually impressive.
I mean, that's the thing, though, is this is on par with every other New Japan wrestling game that we've seen. Like, presentation is always, whether it's, a game from the Famicom all the way up to, the PlayStation titles. Like, there's just something that they always nail in terms of the presentation. It always fits so perfectly with the times, and there's almost a certain timelessness about them where that New Japan Wrestling logo hasn't really changed in decades. So you go back and you're playing this game that came out in 98, and it's pretty much the same New Japan logo that you're going to see if you're watching this in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has a certain timelessness to it. And honestly, a lot of the wrestlers in this game are timeless. Liger is timeless.
Muda, Power Warrior, all of them.
There are so many wrestlers in here that just, the way that we look at, I guess you could, this is always up for debate, but the way that people will look at Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan or The Rock or, who's who? It's just there's those staples of wrestling that doesn't matter if they're from, 1998 or 2021. They're just always associated with wrestling because that's where the memories of them will always live. So this game is, roster wise, it's the timeless roster.
Now, speaking of the roster, speaking of that NWO logo that they don't want to show the full logo of, let's go through this cover art because right here, once again, we have half of the NWO logo. It's clearly not the licensed NWO logo. It's a different font. It's a different box that you're used to. But we have all of that, I guess, caricature. I keep saying caricature work. I don't know what we want to describe it as, but we have all the exaggerated artwork of the wrestlers on the cover in cartoon form. And I think it looks awesome. This is exactly what your character select screen looks like in the game as well. And then you have that New Japan logo with the game title, with George's favorite Little Hudson logo.
I mean, it's just, it's a cool cover. Exactly what this game is from the get-go. That this is going to be some kind of fighting game, wrestling game. Like Johnny said, there's the half NWO logo. It's just a cool looking cover. I very much like it. I think they did an insanely good job of capturing the wrestler's likeness, and the logo at the bottom is pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie to you. It just looks cool.
Yeah, and if in case the cover didn't sell you, the screen grabs on the back are absolutely I guess, awesome, and I would almost say storytelling of what you're going to get in this game here. Because it's your Liger Bomb, it's your submission holds, it's your super kicks. It looks really great. I would be completely sold by this.
And a little subtle light detail that I appreciate is that there's only one square screenshot on the back. Everything else has like an angled cut to it. It gives it a little bit more of like a designer-y feel, and for some reason I just appreciate that.
Now, there's one strip of Japanese writing that's going down the middle. I'm trying to translate it right now, and I'm coming up with some weird things. One says, "You are the one who touches your soul." Then I got, "What is the electricity?"
Oh.
What is the electricity after Vihamani?
I get 6 to take over the electricity is gimme. It is Hoshikawa. It's gimme that goes through the time.
All right,
it's
sure.
Kasan who inherits the fight. Under the screenshot on the square screenshot on the right, it says the true feelings. Oh no, it says it's the super truth.
Oh, and the one on the left said something about commuters and climbing. So
the New Japan Pro Wrestling ride appears under real name. The fruit of New Japan Wrestling.
Oh, hey, I mean, that's the roster, right?
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, going through this back art, going through the cover art, did you know? Did you know you can change your wrestler into the metal form by pressing down on the D-pad during the wrestler introduction?
Did you know this game was Yuke's 5th pro wrestling game and was the 8th game licensed by New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Did you know this game is on eBay for as low as $13 and only as high as $60? Now, we mentioned you could turn your wrestler into a metal wrestler. There's also some other variations you could do by pressing some buttons. So you can get your alternate costume by holding the triggers L, Z, or R and choose your character. And like you'll see in our Clash at the Feast, I was able to choose Liger's gold costume, and it looked really awesome. Now, you could also go with a color change during the wrestler's introduction. You could supposedly change the color of your wrestler by holding the Z button and then pressing L, R, or the C buttons. And now, this is the one I was talking about earlier. When you chose Noya Ogawa, the match rules are changed to submission only. Now, we tried this first. I kind of figured it was going to... I didn't really tell you this is what happens first. This was just kind of our exhibition playthrough. And we realized right away that pins weren't going to count. It was submission only. And we after that, we kind of chose not to select him so we could have straightforward wrestling matches. But I think that's kind of a cool feature.
Yeah, it was... this is the thing, is that this game has almost too many features or too many hidden things, but like this was a big surprise. The pin mechanic, like you can't even go down for a pin. Like it's not like in
right,
like a No Mercy or a WrestleMania 2000 where if you have pin turned off, you can still go for the pin. It just doesn't count it. This, you can't even hit the button combination to like hook the leg. Like you're just not pinning in this game mode at all.
Right.
You know, metal mode, cool. Alternate costumes, cool. I like the fact that they're not, I guess, easily accessible from like a character select screen, like how you would get in, say, you know, WCW NWO Revenge, where you just hit like left or right C and you can flip through the costumes. This was like, you know, if you didn't know, then you didn't get it. Like it was almost like, you know, like a little hidden trick. Like I feel like it adds more substance to the alternative costumes because of that.
Yeah. Now, George, you're looking, I don't know, you're looking a little pale. Maybe I worked it too hard in training.
There's no words for how much pain and how many bruises I have on my body.
But what do you say you sit back right now and I take you through some R&R?
Thank God. Yes, please.
Unfortunately for you, it's short. But we have the game FAQ user ratings because unfortunately I wasn't able to find much on this game. So, out of 21 ratings, the user average for this game is a 4 out of 5 stars. The difficulty actually is a 5 out of 5, which is kind of shocking to me. Now, the longevity, the length of hours played, roughly around 18 hours, which is very low. But with all these ratings, we now go to the most important ratings, which are our ratings. Because right now, George, I want you to say it.
It's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, I'm going to start today. George Feis, Toukon Road Brave Spirits. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Okay, so first impressions immediately was like, this game is horrible. I can't stand it. The controls are so annoying. I don't like that it's the analog stick. But, you know, put in the hours, get a better understanding of the game, you know, kind of like figure out the mechanics and why it works in the way that it does. You know, all that leads me to saying that I am actually going to play this game forever.
Woo! Ooh.
And be very optimistic for the future of this series. Johnny Clash.
That's me.
It's now my turn to ask you the same question. Brave Spirits. You going to play it forever? You going to future endeavor?
So I'm kind of in the same boat as you, but I'm always very optimistic for New Japan pro wrestling games. I'm going to go on a bit, not really a rant here, but to consider myself a New Japan pro wrestling fan, I don't find it easily accessible to follow the product, to know the history of the product. I know there's New Japan World out there. Am I going to subscribe to it? Probably not. Am I going to pay for it? Probably not. Will I watch Wrestle Kingdom? Probably, yeah. I usually very much enjoy watching those year to year. But do I know the roster? Not really. Through these games, I feel like I've learned about more of the history of like New Japan Pro Wrestling because I'm able to like research specific wrestlers through these games. So for that, I start to look forward to playing them even more. Sometimes I've been let down. Sometimes I haven't. In this case, I feel like going in, I was excited because it's a familiar Ukes type game. Once we got in, I was visually so impressed with the way it looked. And I kind of like, you know, you're kind of playing like with a smile on your face because it's fun. So for that, I'm going to hit play it forever.
Woo! Oh, look at that. This is a big surprise. I was not expecting both of us to like this game as much as we did.
Right? Like I had a really good time.
It's got like a certain polish to it that it's just very enjoyable.
Now here's the thing. I'm gonna peel the curtain back for just a second to prove how the controls work. So we got used to this game. We got really used to these controls. We got really used to how it worked. That we played No Mercy immediately following it, and we were still trying to use the controls from Brave Spirit. So we actually were able to get acclimated.
It was rough.
But with that, I mean, I feel like I'm able to go back in here if we were to play the second game. If I don't know if the controls change or if we were to play this again, I feel like we were able to just go in and kind of remember what to do.
I'm very much looking forward to playing Toukon Road 2. Very much.
So with that, why don't we talk about Clash at the Feast?
Now, I heard some rumors and speculation here that there was some injustice being done, and you've got a bone to pick with me.
All right, so not only... All right, guys, watch this week's Clash at the Feast on youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. I got my ass kicked. I realized halfway through my controller was busted. Like I said earlier, the Z was a little broken. Whatever. George was actually nice enough to say, do you want to start over? I said, you know what? I'm too stupid to have realized that this was going on for 3 matches. Take the win, George. It's fine. I won the Battle Royal at the end. I held my own. Check it out on YouTube. But we never settled February. February is still up for grabs.
Oh, we didn't.
It's still a tie.
I forgot because we couldn't play WrestleFest.
So right now, I'm challenging you. Right as soon as we press stop. No Mercy. Once again, listen, I'm pissed. I'm pissed at our last No Mercy Clash at the Feast.
Oh, God.
I want you to take your best guy, and I'm going to take my best guy. No created wrestlers, and we're going to do a best of 3.
Wrestlers. All right. Challenge accepted, my friend.
Ooh, baby. I mean, I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm ready to play. What about you? You ready to take this home?
Well, I got to tell you what we're playing next week. Now, here's the thing. There's been a couple times where things have lined up very nicely, and we've played sequels to games and next in the series games roughly around the same time. We have a pretty good idea of when we release stuff in a series to follow it up. So I'm going to take you back. We're going to get in our time machine, and we're going to go way, way back to the faraway land of March 23rd, 2020. On that day, that faithful Monday, we released our playthrough of WCW World Championship Wrestling for the NES. And since then, we have closed we've covered every other title. But
oh no.
Now we are closing the door and putting a stamp on all of the WCW games, because next week I see Johnny shedding a tear. We are playing WCW versus NWO Thunder.
I don't know if it's a happy tear or a sad tear, or maybe one eye has each. I don't know. Oh man, okay.
But listen, it's sad. We're playing the final WCW game in our gaming catalog, but it doesn't mean that we're done.
Listen, we still have to play the PC version of Nitro.
And I've got some things going on. The cogs are spinning. I have a plan. I've been sending some messages and talking to some people behind your back, John. I got a plan, and I might surprise a special episode on you once we play Thunder.
Okay. I like it. I'm down for anything WCW, so.
Oh, yeah, I know. What a sting mark.
What a sting mark. Welcome to the Sting Marks podcast. All right.
Oh, God.
George, I think I'm good here. Take us home.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast. And be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Also, if you're here in this podcast and you don't already know, there are so many great podcasts that are a part of the Major Pod Network. Go and check them out. Be safe. Wash your hands. Social distance. Do all the things to keep everybody safe. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Johnny, do that little thing that you do at the end of every episode.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.